Welcome back to the Reading and Writing Podcast. My guest today is Dur E Aziz Amna, author of the novel American Fever. Booklist wrote about the novel, a fascinating mix of immigrant tale, coming-of-age narrative, and cultural exposition, tackling some of the big migration questions of home and identity. Dur E, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely. Well, if someone listening hasn't yet heard about your novel, American Fever, how would you describe the novel?
Briefly, I would say that it's a coming of age story of a young Pakistani woman who leaves her hometown in urban Pakistan, one of the bigger cities in Pakistan, for an exchange program that takes her to the US. But unlike a lot of her other friends who get placed in big cities or the suburbs of big cities, she finds herself in rural Oregon in a very, very tiny, somewhat impoverished community near the Pacific Ocean.
And I'm curious, do you remember the original idea or impetus that led you to write American Fever?
I feel like a lot of debut novels, there is a good amount of autobiographical inspiration for this novel. I myself did an exchange program. I'm originally born and raised in Pakistan, and I did an exchange program that took me also to rural Oregon. Obviously, a lot of all the people that she meets, the biography and the sort of details of her host family are completely different from my own experiences. But I went on a similar exchange program I went in 2008, and I started writing this novel in 2018. And so it had been around 10 years, and I felt like enough time had passed that I could sort of like take that experience and turn it into fiction.
Sure. And I'm curious, in your own personal experience, that must have been serious culture shock to you to go from urban Pakistan to rural Oregon.
No. It was, there are certain things that you can compare because, this versus that. I felt like that was such a different experience that it was truly just, you didn't even know where to begin even describing the differerences.
And I'm curious, did you stay in contact with any of the people that you met in Oregon?
Yeah. My host parents were actually these wonderful sort of ex-hippies who'd moved out they left Michigan to go out west and settled in Oregon. And they lived in this tiny town with a lake by it, and they're wonderful. They came to my wedding. They were there. I've visited them a few times since. So I'm definitely in touch with them still. Yeah.
That's great. And I'm curious, have they read the novel?
Well, actually, it's funny because I reached out to them the other day partly to just check in on them, but also I was like, is there any way they've read the novel and thought that it was about them and gotten angry because I hadn't heard from them for a while, but they responded, and I think they were just busy with things. But no, so they know that there's a book out. I've obviously told them that the experiences that Hira has in the book are very different. Again, my host parents, they were just this one couple, much older than Kelly, who's the host mother in the novel, and her daughter Amy, who's about a teenager herself.
Sure. Well, I'm curious, what was your writing journey that led you to writing your first stories and now getting your debut novel published?
So I have written in some capacity or the other for a very long time. I started off writing just you know how newspapers sometimes have those young adult or children's supplements that come once a week or something. So I would write for those back home in Pakistan. So my training from the beginning has been more on the nonfiction and journalism side. Not reporting per se, but essays or humor or that kind of thing. And then I did that for a while. In college, I was an English major. But then after I graduated, partly because I was a student on a visa and I needed to get, a quote unquote real job with that would sponsor my visa. And partly because I really wanted to convince myself that I could do something more financially viable than writing, I I went into I worked for a hedge fund and marketing for 2 or 3 years. Then during that time, I would write on the weekends or in the evenings. Um, but then I applied for an MFA program at the University of Michigan, and I got in. And I think that's when I sort of gave myself the permission to really start thinking of myself as a full-time writer.
And I'm curious, what was your MFA experience like?
It was great. It was fantastic. I mean, well, with the massive caveat, obviously, that I started in 2019, and then we all know what happened in 2020. So
Sure.
that sort of derailed. Because the thing with an MFA is obviously you go there mostly for the people and the community, the professors and the people who every week you meet for a workshop and you discuss each other's work and give feedback. And so when all of that moved online, obviously there was a lot that was that we missed out on. So that is a massive caveat. But other than that, it's really, as I said, it allowed me for the first time to think of myself as a writer, and because it was a fully paid program, it meant that for those 3 years I could not have to worry about money as such and just concentrate on the writing.
Sure.
Download Upside and start getting cash back wherever you roll. It's like having your own hype man. Get an average of 17% cash back at restaurants.
Oh, it's dinner time.
Average of 13% on groceries.
Get those groceries.
10 cents per gallon average cash back on gas.
It's go time.
Plus, cash back at participating convenience stores too.
Stacks on stacks.
Users can earn hundreds of dollars a year, 3 times more than other apps.
Upside, show me that money.
All right, we get it.
Get it.
It's easy. Just sign up for the free Upside app and start getting cash back for doing you. Download the free Upside app and use promo code DOYOU10 for an extra $10 cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code DOYOU10 for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Get cash back for doing you with the free app from Upside.
With the Kroger Plus card, it's easy to get lower than low prices for the win. Earn fuel points on every purchase and save up to $1 a gallon at the pump. The Kroger Plus card, all you do is win. Big, big savings. Sign up now at Kroger.com and start saving. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Fuel restrictions apply.
Save big on your favorites with the Buy 5 or More, Save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Well, what was your writing process when you were working on the novel? Did you outline the novel or did you just dive into the narrative? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So with this one, and of course, I'm sure it'll be different for the next book or the next one, but for this one, because it is based in autobiography, I had a good, clear idea of what the plot was going to be. I knew that, okay, she was going to be in this city and then she was going to move to this town. And so that's why I sort of started it without any outlining, really. In retrospect, I probably would have, because I think even if you know what's going to happen in your book, it still helps with pacing, I think, for if you have a plot or like some sort of structure written down. But yeah, no, I sort of just went into it, and then I finished my first draft before joining the MFA program. But then during the MFA program, I did major revisions that were based around not changing anything plot-wise, really, but changing a lot of the tone and the voice of the novel. Because initially, you might have gathered this from reading the book, but right now it's told from a retrospective point of view, where it's told by an older narrator looking back. We don't really know where the older narrator is, what she's doing now, but we know that it's an older person telling the story. And initially it was written by it was very much written from the perspective of the young person. And the feedback that I got, and even from reading it myself afterwards, I realized that sort of made her sound that made the novel sound younger, or, less mature than I was hoping for. So I added that retrospective narration later on.
Well, I'm curious, are you working on another novel now?
Yeah, I'm wading into the deep in the next 2 or 3 months. It's been I remember, I don't know where I heard this, but someone said that working on the second novel while the first one is coming out is like the classic advice of sleeping while the baby sleeps, because that sounds great in theory, but it's not very practical. And so just because there was a lot going on, obviously, with the publicity for the first book. But now that that's mostly over, I'm starting a new book very soon. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm curious, given your experience with writing and getting American Fever published, what writing advice would you offer for those who are working on their own stories or novels?
Wow. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I suppose it's so funny to me because I really don't feel like I'm in any position to give advice, but I suppose I did just publish a book. I no, just because I still feel like I'm very much starting out myself.
Sure.
But I think, I mean, I do believe that sometimes, especially if you're writing stories that, you know, are not that mainstream, or that you haven't heard a lot of, or there isn't a huge sort of movement. Sometimes there are certain things that are in the zeitgeist or that are being talked about, and if you write about those things, it's obviously easier to get opportunities. If that's not the case, I think that it's going to be frequently disheartening, because it can feel like you're running up against walls. But I mean, yeah, I think you have to find and it can really be just like that one person, that one agent, that one editor who believes in you and who believes in the book or the project or the essay or the story that you're because again, like you don't need the entire world to be interested in it. You just need to find that one reader who will then help you sort of bring that book forward.
Sure. Well, I'm curious, what books have you read recently that you enjoyed, either novels or nonfiction?
That's a great question. So let me think. I recently actually, so I live in Newark, New Jersey. Right now, I moved here just a few months ago, and of course, this is in no way revelatory to anyone, but I recently read Philip Roth's American Pastoral, because it's one of his more Newarky books. And I really, really loved that one. And I also recently read, and this is sort of just apropos of the announcement yesterday about the Nobel Prize in Literature, but I read The Years by Annie Ernaux, I think that's how you call it. But which was really, really just a fantastic book.
That's great. Well, where can people find you online if they want to learn more about you and your novel, American Fever?
Yeah, so I have most of the information. Most of the information is on my website, www.dureazizamna.com, dureazizamna.com, and then I'm on Instagram and Twitter.
That's great. Well, again, we've been speaking with Dur E Aziz Amna, author of the novel American Fever. The novel is on sale now, so go buy a copy. And Dur E, thanks for doing this interview.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me, Jeff. This was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Download Upside and start getting cash back wherever you roll. It's like having your own hype man. Get an average of 17% cash back at restaurants.
Oh, it's dinner time.
Average of 13% on groceries.
Get those groceries.
10 cents per gallon average cash back on gas.
It's go time.
Plus, cash back at participating convenience stores too.
Stacks on stacks.
Users can earn hundreds of dollars a year, 3 times more than other apps.
Upside, show me that money.
All right, we get it.
Get it.
It's easy. Just sign up for the free Upside app and start getting cash back for doing you. Download the free Upside app and use promo code DOYOU10 for an extra $10 cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code DOYOU10 for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Get cash back for doing you with the free app from Upside.
92% of households that start the year with Peloton are still active a year later.
92% because of a bike?
Not just bikes. We also make treadmills and rowers.
Oh, let me guess, for elite athletes only, right?
Nope. It doesn't matter if you're an avid exerciser or new to working out. Peloton can help you achieve your fitness goals. 92% stick with it. So can you. Try Peloton bikes, tread, or row risk-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only. Not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial.